Discuss the ongoing debate over H.R. 1 and the COVID relief bill is Republican Congressman from Florida, Byron Donalds. So great to have you with us, Congressman. Thank you very much for your time today.
No, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
So I don't know if you were able to hear any of Logan's report there, but he's saying, the Senate is going to vote on these issues this weekend. They're going to take it through the weekend. What do you think will happen in the Senate with either the COVID relief bill or with H.R. 1?
Well, honestly, I think with COVID relief, the Republican senators are going to do everything they can to at least try to put common sense things into this bill, into a bill that lacks complete common sense. You have to understand a couple of things. Number one, our economy is actually roaring back. People have had pent up demand to get out of their homes and get back to life for almost a year now. In Florida, in Texas, South Carolina, and many states that haven't followed these draconian lockdown policies, their economies have already returned. And so there's really no need to do this massive stimulus grab bag package that the Democrats could never pass under normal circumstances. There isn't any need. If you want to extend PPP, if you want to provide more unemployment insurance for people who have truly been hurt, and even if you want to go down this line of additional stimulus checks, obviously having to buy more vaccines and make sure that we can get them disseminated, those are the things we should be focused on. But that's only about 10 to 20% of this bill. The rest of it is craziness, frankly. And so unfortunately, because Kamala Harris is going to break ties in the Senate, that bill looks like it's coming back to the House. And unfortunately, because the Democrats hold a very slim majority in the House of Representatives, it's going to pass out of the House of Representatives as well.
Yeah, what's interesting is you were talking about put some common sense into the bill. Some of the common sense might be taking things out of the bill. I was doing some research this morning. I didn't know this, but California is running a $15 billion budget surplus, not a deficit, but a surplus. And I think the plans are to give them another $27 billion in this package. And this bill is very popular. Do you think people are aware of that?
No, people are not. And this is what's wrong with the legacy media, mainstream media, whatever you want to call them. They are not reporting on this bill. They're wasting their time talking about Donald Trump's taxes, or they're still talking about January 6th, as opposed to the actual elements that are in this bill. Because if you told the American people that California, like you said, has a budget surplus and we were going to send them more money, you would be like, that's craziness. Florida, we actually have more tax revenue than we thought we would at this particular time. If we simply opened up our economy, and if local school districts and their teachers union actually did the smart thing and actually followed the science and actually opened up their schools, we wouldn't need to do this. But all the media is telling you is that, oh, well, this is just Biden's plan to rebuild America. That stuff sounds good. So, of course, people will generally support it. But anybody who looks into this package, unless you have a vested political interest, you do not support this bill.
Yeah, and states like yours, Florida, that did reopen are being penalized versus states like California and New York that decided to keep the lockdowns in place. Let's switch gears, though, quickly here and take a look at some of the changes proposed to voting in the H.R. 1 bill that we were talking about. Amongst some other things, states automatically register voters based on databases. It mandates same-day voting and online voting registration, limits states' authority to remove voters from voter rolls. We can bring up some of the other changes. And as we do that, what is your primary concern with H.R. 1?
The whole thing. It's a disaster. It's a ridiculous bill. It's stupid. It's essentially taking California's election laws and making it the election law in the other 49 states. As somebody who served in the Florida House and represents a congressional district from Florida, I don't want California's election law. I definitely don't want Nancy Pelosi designing them. We have the best election laws in the country in the state of Florida. The other things that you didn't mention, it completely gets rid of voter ID laws. It completely gets rid of signature verification for mail-in ballots. And probably the worst part of this bill, there's a 6-to-1 match for campaign contributions less than $200. What that means is take a guy like Jamie Harrison, who ran against Lindsey Graham for the U.S. Senate in South Carolina. Jamie Harrison raised about $130 to $140 million. Probably 70% of that was less than $200 contributions. There could be an infusion into his campaign of almost $300 million from the taxpayers. This is insanity that the Democrats have in H.R. 1. It's a terrible bill. It's a bill that will, frankly, keep them in political power. That's why they're pushing it so hard. It must not become law. And the Republican senators and even the moderate senators, and I'm looking at you, Joe Manchin, the moderate senators need to stop that thing dead in its tracks.
Yeah, we're talking about H.R. 1 there, folks. Thank you very much, Congressman Byron Donalds.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.